Sophie Cunningham isn't just another name written on a lineup card. She's the jolt of energy, the unpredictable piece you can't ignore. Whether you love her passion or dislike her antics, she always gets noticed. Across the league, people talk. Players, coaches, even opponents she battles against admit she leaves her mark. From teammates praising her intensity to rivals questioning her methods, Sophie has become one of the WNBA's most discussed players. And if you really listen, the message is simple. She brings fire every time she touches the court. Every game has a moment where everything shifts. The background hum of the crowd builds into a buzz, defenders fight harder through picks, voices get louder on rotations, and suddenly each possession feels critical. That's where Sophie operates. Not in the quiet stretches, but in the turbulence right before something big happens. To some, she's the spark that transforms the bench. To others, she's the irritant who drags you into uncomfortable waters. Either way, when she checks in, the game heats up. And if things get messy, that's her element. Some players don't need a play called to influence the game. The second they enter, the tempo changes, the temperature rises, and possessions feel like they carry more weight. For Indiana, that shift often comes with Cunningham. Points, rebounds, and assists are easy to count, but how do you measure relentless presence? How do you score endless talking, chasing, rotating, and applying pressure until the opponent bends? It's the gritty details that matter. Jumping at a driver to force a pass, top locking a shooter so the set dies, bumping a roller just in time to save a switch, or still racing to the corner after helping at the nail. Not glamorous, but it's the work that stops a run before it starts. Kelsey Mitchell didn't sugarcoat.
Sophie's that wild card, man. Her and Lexi together. I think their energy, when I talk about effort defensively and just figuring it out and having a willingness, that's Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall. They do an unbelievable job of just being present, being where they need to be.
Sophie's that wild card. Her and Lexi, their defensive energy, their willingness, it's unbelievable. That's a primary scorer flat out defining the bench's heartbeat. Wild card doesn't mean random, it means game changer. Notice what Kelsey emphasizes: defense, hustle, and the willingness to figure it out. Sophie's value isn't just about scoring, it's the little moments before anyone even shoots. The quick recoveries, the second box out that prevents a tip, the early communication that saves a breakdown. Add Lexi Hull into the mix and the duo becomes a defensive storm. Hull brings speed and shooting, Sophie crashes, slips, ghosts, and grinds through possessions against top wings. Together, they shift rhythm. But compliments from teammates are one thing. When the same praise echoes from the top, it becomes something else. Lately, Sophie has been everywhere, igniting plays on the court, pulling cameras off it, and drawing attention from every direction. The fans love her swagger, the league notices her energy, and even Caitlyn Clark couldn't stay quiet. Instead of avoiding comparisons, Clark smirked, laughed, and dropped a line that set the room off. If someone had Sophie's looks with my game, that'd be the most famous player this league's ever seen. The laughter was real, but so was the respect behind it. What many didn't see was the growing bond between them. On the floor they compete. Off it, their connection is starting to make waves too. Praise from teammates matters, but consistent minutes come from the one holding the clipboard. When coaches echo the same message publicly, it builds structure. Roles stop being theory and turn into reality. The WNBA has its own coded language, phrases like embracing your role or competing at a high level. Simple on the surface, but veterans know exactly what they mean. For Sophie, those words equal real respect. She willingly takes on the gritty jobs others avoid. Coach Nate Tibbetts put it plainly.
Sure, which, I mean, I think when you come in this league, from, you know, again, I'm learning this league as a second round pick. You got to have some toughness and grit to you, and you know,
You need toughness and grit in this league. She's embraced that role, and it's worked. She competes. No fluff, just acknowledgement. That kind of praise is stripped of glamour. No highlight adjectives, just toughness, grit, and effort stamped into the description. The second round mentality shows up in how she runs through screens instead of sliding around them, sprints to close a window that might not even open, and does it again on the very next trip. The cost is real. Bruises, fouls, and irritated opponents. But so is the payoff. Coaches don't hand out secure minutes lightly. Sophie earns them. Think about what embracing the role actually looks like. It's arriving at film and pointing out your own mistakes first. It's setting a crushing screen on a show so your guard actually gains an edge. It's being the low man even when your legs are gone, tagging the roller, then still closing to the corner three because your stunt bought time. It's hockey assist thinking, making the pass that leads to the pass that creates the shot. If starters are the face of the team, players like Sophie are the backbone, and the backbone dictates posture. Want proof of how that trust plays out? Listen to the coach juggling lineups in real time. Belief is the seed, but deployment is the garden. Words like toughness and grit sound great in a presser, but the real meaning shows up on a Tuesday in the third quarter. Who can guard up a position? Who allows more switching? Who lifts the group just by talking? Sophie does. The beauty isn't that she excels at one thing, it's that she enables 5 other things the team couldn't do before. Her energy powers the group, her voice keeps time, and coaches can feel it from the sideline to the huddle. Stephanie White didn't hold back.
Oh my God, Sophie's a dog. She just is, she's a competitor. She's versatile, so she allows us to do different things. Like, she plays with such a toughness. She's huge, and she's going to be for us all season long. But what she brings from an energy standpoint, she raises the level of play of everybody around her as soon as she steps foot on the floor. Hell, even on the sideline. I mean, her communication, everything. She's definitely an X factor.
Words don't get handed out for just showing up. They signal that a player bends the game around her presence. Dog and X factor aren't throwaway compliments, they're signals that her presence changes the math. Versatility gives a coach freedom to rest a starter without sacrificing identity. Communication means teammates anticipate a half step earlier, and when people say she raises the level, that's the intangible you can't coach. Others simply work harder when she's onto the floor. That's leadership without needing a speech. Value that bleeds into every possession. In one short stretch, Sophie can be the weak side cutter, the flare screen setter, the ghost option on a pick and pop, and the nail help on the very next trip. All inside of 2 minutes of clock time. That flexibility lets a coach shapeshift. If the opponent is small, you punish them inside. If they're big, you push the pace until their legs give out. Add her sideline voice, pointing, calling coverage, slapping a chest after a switch, and suddenly the whole unit feels more connected. That's rarer than a hot shooting night, a team that's in sync. But playing with force and communication is only one half of the story. The other half is how the league reacts. Some clap back, some nod along, and others refuse to entertain anything that's not directly about the ball. Sophie's edge is real and it travels. But what happens when that edge runs headfirst into a phenom who treats chaos like background noise? That's not just a dust-up, that's a test. Energy colliding with poise. Contact meeting calm. The question becomes, can you rattle someone who simply refuses to blink? Every great rivalry needs sparks, whether it's a quote, a shove, or a whistle that turns a possession into a full-blown conversation. Sophie's name often surfaces in those moments because she's always at the center of the storm. And when she questioned a whistle for one of the league's rising stars, the response that came back was pure ice. Cool, measured, completely unfazed. Paige Bueckers didn't escalate. She reframed. Yeah, I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. I can't control the whistle, but I can control my reaction. And for me, that means staying unaffected. That was Paige's answer. Veteran composure from a rookie. She didn't dismiss the noise. She shrank it. Unaffected was the key word. Not swayed by personalities, not rattled by whistles. And that clarity is the perfect contrast to why Sophie polarizes. Her entire game is designed to make you feel her, to force you into the chaos. If Paige is the player who refuses to flinch, Sophie is the one determined to make you blink. There's another layer here too, the marketing spotlight versus the locker room grind. The spotlight players get the magazine covers. The grinders decide the daily mood. When those worlds collide, you get friction. Sometimes it's tactical, sometimes philosophical, but either way, it's compelling. Inside the league, reactions take on different forms. Some absorb the noise, some block it out entirely. Paige chose to absorb, stay centered, starve the distraction, but other vets take the opposite lane. That's culture work. And sometimes, the loudest voice in the room is loud for a reason. Because protection is part of the job. Culture plays aren't measured in box scores. They're about drawing a line before things spill over. There's a difference between debate and disrespect, and players themselves define it. That's why when the All-Star live chat tilted negative, Courtney Williams cut it off instantly. Anybody talking bad about Sophie in here? Timeout. Mods, if anyone's got something negative to say about her, put them in timeout. Straight up. We're not doing that. No negative energy. That wasn't just banter. It was a statement from a respected veteran guard. That moment sent 2 messages. 1, Sophie has allies inside the room. 2, the room has rules. Ain't nothing but love isn't just a phrase. It's strategy. In a league this competitive, tension is inevitable. Containment is intentional. The message was clear. We can battle on the court, but we don't burn down teammates online. Moments like that add a second layer to Sophie's reputation. You can be the player who frustrates opponents and still be the one teammates defend in public. That balance, edge on the floor, cover off it, makes you sustainable in a long season. Nobody survives a marathon without allies, and Sophie has plenty. A lot of this stems from heat of the moment plays, the kind where even slow motion replays spark debate. That's why first-hand reactions matter. They show where the line felt in real time. Off the court, the line is about respect. On the court, it's about survival. Principles are easy to tweet, but possessions demand split-second decisions. And in that split-second world of grabs, screens, and collisions, the code is simple. Don't get punked, no hashtags, no think pieces, just raw contact calculus. Ask someone who was there and they'll tell you plain. Natisha Heidemann didn't filter her reaction. She said it straight. Oh, there she goes. I'm not gonna lie, that girl grabbed her by the neck. And look, she wasn't wrong. You can't let yourself get punked. She had to get up. You just can't allow that. That's the unvarnished truth. Yes, there was contact, but no, you don't just accept it. Two truths exist at once. Yes, Sophie grabbed, and no, you can't roll over. That's the gray zone where she operates, the same space where many role players in this league survive. Toughness is currency here. It's messy, human, and exactly where reputations are forged. Don't get punked is both a rule and a dare. Sophie expects pushback, and she plays through it. Zoom out, and you see the chain reaction. A hard foul jolts the bench wakes up the crowd energizes the defense. Suddenly, the opponent feels like they're facing two defenders instead of one, because the communication has gotten louder than the play itself. In those swings, everything matters. How the refs call it, how coaches adjust matchups, how players choose to escalate or calm it down. It's not just the scoreboard that shifts, it's the entire night's identity. And then there's the bigger picture. Players don't step on the floor as blank slates, they carry their lives, their stresses, and their convictions with them. Some nights it's pure basketball. Other nights, the world leaks through the tunnel. That's why tempers flare and words linger, because sometimes the stakes feel bigger than the game. Sophie's lane, though, is basketball. She shows up, takes the hits, and does the gritty work that tilts games. That's not a slogan or a tweet. It's screen set, bodies absorbed, rotations covered. You might disagree with her style, but you can't miss the intent. Inside a locker room, intent is what matters most. Tasha Cloud's words went beyond hoops. I tried to have dialogue with her, tried to have hard dialogue. But look, what you vote for, it matters. My life depends on it. If that doesn't matter to you, you can't say you love me. Heavy stuff. But here's the reality. The season doesn't pause for debates. Every 24 seconds, another possession arrives. Sophie gives you something usable right now. Edge, coverage, accountability without prerequisites. And if you want to know what the locker room values most, listen not to the discourse, but to the gratitude. Actions on the court travel farther than statements off it. That brings us to the reaction that reframed everything else. Context always sharpens the next moment. After the noise, the boundaries, the debates, the room needed clarity from the one voice that could settle it. Not a speech, just a single word. That's how stars speak when everyone has already heard enough. In every locker room, certain words hang in the air long after they're spoken. Not because they're loud, but because they confirm what everyone already felt. You can argue whistles, you can argue replays, but you can't argue relief. When Sophie described the aftermath of Indiana's most controversial moment, one word cut through. Finally. Finally, someone else, Caitlyn Clark said. Sophie replied, dude, I got you. That's the thesis. For Clark, hounded, bumped, baited every night, having a teammate step willingly into the storm felt like protection. It didn't erase fouls or soften scuffles, but it reframed the intent. Not recklessness, but cover. Not chaos, but defense. And here's what opponents quietly feel. When your star says finally, the whole team hears permission. Permission to bring more edge. Permission to stand taller. Permission to become the version of themselves that can withstand anything. For Sophie, finally isn't just relief. It's an assignment. It transforms her edge into a shield, her fire into protection. From that point on, every hit and every rotation carries new meaning. That's why Cunningham has become the league's paradox, a role player who refuses to be anonymous. Kelsey Mitchell's wild card is trust. Fitz' embrace the role is belief. White's X factor is impact. Paige's composure highlights her edge. Courtney's defense is respect. Heidemann defined the code. Cloud brought the politics, and Caitlyn gave the stamp. Sophie shifts games with ghost screens, slips, crashes, and gritty decisions that rarely make the box score but always shape the film. She is Indiana's thermostat, the one who sets the temperature and dares everyone else to live in it. Teammates call it toughness, rivals call it extra, the tape calls it influence. And as the season stretches on, her value compounds. In May, she's a spark. By August, she's the margin. That's Sophie Cunningham, not just a role, but a role taken personally. And that's Sophie Cunningham, the spark, the edge, the thermostat. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit subscribe and smash that like button so you don't miss the next story.